All right, y'all, let's get into that Moscow Mule being mixed up and that C-section birth and tie some things together for us, because we got that naval knee funeral today, and that long is line, and that umbilical cord, the umbilical cord, is tied to that church, and the church is called the Mother of God, Quench My Sorrows Church, and it's in the Mariano district. Okay, so we see the Mother of God, the Mary, the primary. All right, we've been tracking this fertilization and such. We had got gestation of a human at 280 days, at 530. We got that dog gestation, and that's going on right now, and it goes up to the 68th day of the year. So all these things are kind of telling us some stories. All right, we also got the cat. So the autonomous OK rug is tied to this naval knee dude. All right, and that ties into the Oklahoma rug, that tallest tower that's being built and all that shit. So that's when the oil and the petrodollar and all these things are gonna be ripped out, and the basically the country will be divided at one point, be right side, left side, because you got the 8T and the twin T. All right, you want to be in your 80s or you want to be in your 20s? What's a better time? So America's already lived through its 20s, in a matter of speaking, and then now it's going into its 80s. And that's where we're going from the west to the east, where we're going from the tribulation to the great tribulation. And you've had the millennial kingdom, the millennium start, and all these things. And as it's starting, you have the birth of nations coming, but you're at that actual peak where that birth is coming, and the divide and the bowels, the ballots, and the rapture that's coming, and all these things that's going to be unfolding in our world. So that Oklahoma rug, that TKO, that OK, that crown over, that's all tied to the oil and all those things, okay? And the petrodollar and the BRICS is tied to taking the petrodollar out. All right, that's where they put in the view, the Putin views on the Tucker Carlson, but they tucked it away. So there's just different things that's telling the story here, that for the eyes and ears to gather up and let you know what's going on, because there's going to be a point in time where the Don, he gave you those gold slippers so you can run the hell out of there, because hell's about to break open, and there ain't going to be no gas in one way, shape, or form in places. There's not going to be any money in one way, shape, or form in places. You're going to go down into lockdowns in different shapes and ways. Okay? So, and then you're going to get into that lockdown with the armies that gathered, that they're releasing yesterday, that I told you is coming, with where is a leak. Okay? And all these things are going to filter back. And then we also got the so-called hack and ransom and those things with Trump yesterday that I told you's coming. All right? So these are the reflections. These are for the people who actually have the AI, the brain, in their head instead of the EI for the rain. And the EI is also tied to the Alexei Navalny, the dude who was killed. That he has the EI on his name at the end, and that's for the EIEIO, for Old MacDonald had a farm, and he's gathering up his beast. So he died at 47. The 47 attaches us to that 47 agenda, the 47 year on Elvis being dead, and the L even, all those things, that L even, that L for that Bud Light, who's had that boycott, caught it, and that boy's gonna be caught drinking and stuff, and matter of speaking, and he's gonna be taken out. And that's where you can see the false prophets and all this stuff just start collapsing. All right, so he did the 47 on the King Spirit dying, 8/16 this year, and then you got it going into the 2025. All right. And then There's other numbers that connect these things, but you have the 26 on the absolute happiness connected with him. So the 26 is connected to 2026. All right. So all these are connecting a time frame. And then you got the Ivan Drago with the Rocky 4. And we just did the Rocky 5 thing with the money still in the freezer or whatever, where you sign that line and the money's gone kind of thing. Connecting that big freeze kind of reflection we need to be looking for. So 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and all these line up with the clock, the 24 to the 24, and the alphabet, and all those other things, okay, that we've covered in the other videos. All right, so that C-section birth, that umbilical cord, the unbiblical cord attached to the church, lining up there with all those people and such, this is all reflections for coming for that carnal, fleshly time for that Judea nation known as America, where it's the last satanic nation, but they're being transformed into another light where they're thinking Satan is actually Jesus. Okay, so this is where you've been hoodwinked, and you've all been given this window into heaven, and the whole world's been laid at your feet to go and test all the men and to gather up the knowledge, gather up the oil and the light from all these different ways. And we've also had the pastors and the teachers saying, oh, you can't read this, you can't go to that website, hey, you can't look at this, you can't do that, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. You can't have life. We can only think about death. And in order to think about death, we can only think about being perfect in our lives, even though I'm perfect is imperfect. So imperfect is perfect. All these weird shit, all these weird dualities, okay? That's where we don't make mistakes. It's what Jesus taught the Jews, that carnal nation, the one that's judging you by the flesh. You got to wash your hands. You got to do this, that, and the other. Blah, blah, blah. There's time to wash your hands, but sometimes you don't have to. But either way, we can understand the flesh versus the carnal, and where, like, if you want to hang around people or whatever, you might not want to stink or whatever. You might got to take a shower first or whatever, okay? So, if you don't want to take a shower and then people don't want to hang out with you or whatever, you can't, like, you got to figure out you can't be fucking depressed or whatever. You got to figure out the balance in life. There's a balance. There's a natural balance, and then there's an unnatural balance. And unfortunately, right now, under the Jupiter and the stars and the what was, we got a new age now, new star shine. That's where this friction is coming in. And there's a new heaven and a new earth that's opened up. So the old one is going to be consumed and burned up. And this is as far as physically in ways, and it's also spiritually. Which the spirit under the Jew spirit is tied to the carnal. Okay? That's why they can't hear the trumpets sounding, even though when the world shut down under it and the peace deal was made and the star was shown. They made a huge deal about it. Letting everybody know. You're in the middle. That Obama nation, he's already come. That dark sun, already there. The forbidden fruit was growing in the background. And then the dawn, the new light came, said, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then the forbidden fruit came after the Abaddon came and opened the pit. Obama, he brought the pit. Trump, he opened the pit. He has the keys. And Biden, he brought them into the pit. Okay? So now the furnace is going on. That panhandle's getting hot in Texas. Now you got the fire and ice event I told you was coming. Got that burn, and then they got the blizzard right after. That's the birth of the fucking dragons. For the dragon gave the power for the wood dragon this year, for that will. which is the will is the 23 ill, which is the 23 on 9/11, which is lining up for the election cycle and that crapture and all those. Take out your money, which tying up to the 47 on that 47 agenda and all those things. So that agenda is tied to the ginger, which is used in the Moscow Mule. The Moscow Mule's being mixed up right now. You have the 26 of absolute happiness. The absolute vodka is tying into that. That vodka is the V22 odd. The V is the Vivek, and that's also the peace. So that's the peace and safety. The safety's going on right now with the Trump. That's the man of iniquity, the Nikki Haley, with the aliens coming. All this shit right there, folks. So, the C-section birth is happening in that kind of spiritual way. So we could see where that C-section birth can come, and that aircraft carrier and can be taken out and away, or the destroyers. Okay, so America is great because of its Navy and Air Force and Marines and all these things coming together. All right. What is it? Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or whatever. So the Moscow Mule's being mixed up. That copper mug, that copper is the PPER. All right, that's for those who give suck and whatever else is going to be going on with that HIB replay and the big scare. When that frequency comes, or however they do, oh no, the money goes, or this, that, and the other. All 7 heads collapse at once. Oh shit! Oh Jesus! Jesus Christ! That's Jesus Christ coming right there. That's the spirit of Jesus. When you see people like on planes or Jesus, I can't believe they've done that. That's Jesus to the Jews because they're breaking all their fucking rules. So, need to follow the Lady Liberty. There's an old hoodwink going on. Anyways, let's get into the Moscow Mule real quick. So it takes the vodka. That's the Ka for the Kansas, and that Ka, the God, and whatever else. So the beer is that L. The L is the Hebrew God, and it's Israel, the body, spirit, or mind, body, spirit, or spirit, mind, body, whatever. Either way, but they go backwards. Okay, so they're always looking back at shit and whatever the past. So that's where they worship the body, the flesh, the carnal first, and then whatever. They build off that instead of doing the other. So the Moscow Mule ties to the spring of mint, the sprig of mint, and that's the rig and the spring and all that stuff for the spring breakage stuff. The mint is for the money, and it's being a type of buck. Okay, so the buck is the money, and then leave this world behind. It has the bucks and the deers, all right, and the deers are the bears, and that L and ties to the false prophets and all that, okay, because the false prophet long count has 7/20/24, give or take a month or two, okay? So, and then we have the 9/23/24 for the end of the tribulation, and on the flip side for the 9 is the 6, so you can have the 6/24 or 23/24 the day after. The 6/24/24 is the 666, 10 days, the no heart after Trump's birthday. So it's also served in a highball glass, that high bell glass, and that high top's been served. That high for the parties being done, for that green is for the money that's going to be burned up, and the stainless steel coating, that coating is for the COVID, and that coat for that jacket that's being altered for the tailor, for that swift alteration. And The ginger is tied to Harry, the red-haired dude, and it's also tied to the Jer USA Solemn and the Jerusalem and all that kind of shit. So we're gonna have to end it because of time, and you know, we're done.